Call me crazy, I don't really care. I want my mother-in-law to get the heck out of my house. I don't care what my husband says. I don't care what the neighbors say. I don't care what anyone says. The reason I'm losing my crap. Yeah, my mother-in-law's health is deteriorating, so she basically needs her family to watch after her, but she's turning my kids against me and against each other. I have a wild one for you guys today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hi, I'm Jane. I'm 37 now, married to Mark and blessed with 2 kids. Ethan, 10 years old, and Lily, 2. Currently, my mother-in-law Karen has moved in with us. At the usual beginning of the day, I was making breakfast. I was busy on the phone with my friend, who was my ex-clique and works at a law firm, discussing the case study with me. Everyone was waiting for breakfast at the table when Lily still sits at her toddler chair, and Ethan sits with Karen with his headphones on and his eyes glued to his iPad. And Lily's still struggling with her cereal and Karen's reading her newspaper. Lily's still learning to speak in proper sentences and she might be asking for something, but Ethan did not listen and she just started coughing. When Ethan realized it was too late, he rushed to get her a glass of water. Anxious, the glass slipped from his hands, and hearing a shattering sound, I turned around and saw Lily coughing vigorously due to choking. And Karen was just scolding her because she doesn't even know how to chew properly. Ethan nervously tried to pat her back while calling for me. I rushed to pick up Lily, and I slapped her back and she threw up a kernel that was stuck in her throat. Relieved, I rubbed her back and Ethan poured another glass of water on Lily. Ethan apologizes that his hands turned sweaty and the glass fell from his grip. I told him it was okay and sent him to pick up the mop for me. Meanwhile, Karen's sipping her coffee calmly as if nothing happened, and it was weird for me to see how she could be so calm while watching a kid get choked. She didn't even think of helping her out, instead scolding her, and I told her that she was just a 2-year-old kid still learning to grab her spoon. Thinking that she has to be abnormal since no person acts like that. While comforting Lily on my lap, she was still smiling happily, not knowing what might happen to her in a matter of a few seconds. My heart skipped a few beats for a second and tears began to form in my eyes. But I forced my smile on her and I just sat her down on the sofa till then. Ethan brought the mop and handed it over to me and I told him to keep an eye on Lily. I sensed that Ethan was a bit nervous about breaking the glass, creating a mess, and not being able to help Lily when needed. I hugged him to calm him down and told him to stay away from the gadgets while sitting at the table and be attentive to his surroundings, which would save him from a lot of dangers and mishaps. He nodded and I handed over the ice cream to share with Lily. Well, he happily jumped and went to look after her, and both kids looked happy and cheery and watched them. I recalled 2 years ago how Ethan's reaction when he took the Lily in his lap for the first time was so surprised and amused when he looked at her, and it hit me that my husband was still in his office when Lily was born. My only friend, whom I'd been talking to for a few minutes, came to get me discharged from the hospital and drop me home. She also planned a little surprise for welcoming the baby into this world. Also, after some time, he showed up, making his usual excuses of meeting for getting late, and he seemed happy when he saw that Lily, for the first time, handed it back to me. It was a little weird to me that he just seemed happy, which is 1/4 of the reaction that I saw when Ethan was born. Well, I still believe he might be tired and not having a good day, so I let that pass. Looking at Mark during the party, his mother did not show up. Karen, who lives just a few blocks away, could even manage to be present on such a special day when her granddaughter was born, and I tried calling her several times, but she just texted saying that she sent the driver a few gifts for her daughter, including diapers, blankets, and a few milk bottles for babies. That's it. No congratulations, no greetings, nothing that was strange for me. Mark said to me that I was overreacting, and I asked myself, am I? Because when Ethan was born, she prepared for the whole party, baked 5 varieties of desserts, and invited so many people to arrange a professional decor. She took months to knit sweaters, caps, socks, and everything else for Ethan and brought huge gifts. She made the celebration grand enough to let everyone know that she's become a grandmother to her grandson. And she framed a photograph while holding Ethan gently. She was overwhelmed when she saw him showered with kisses and blessings. I could not understand what had changed since then that she was acting like that with my second child. At the end of the day, before going to bed, I asked Mark what he would like to name, but he simply said that he was too drunk to think about anything. I watched Lily and Ethan tucked together safely, calmly, and sleeping soundly. All my worries were washed away because I was equally happy to be blessed with two little angels in my life. Updates. Number 1. Karen and Ethan were sharing the room since Karen's pampers Ethan so much that I'm afraid she would spoil him. And I'm afraid he would start hating me since I'm a little stricter. After all, every child loves their grandparents more than their parents. Thinking of their grandparents, Karen turns into a different person altogether when it comes to Lily. And I always tried to console myself that she might not be in a mood or that she must be under medication or tired, etc., unlike with Ethan. Her constant reaction might not be monetary. She always scolds Lily to behave properly, to sit properly, to behave elegantly with etiquette, etc., and she refrained from playing outside or with Ethan's toys because her girls are not meant to play under the sun or they would get tan and get her knees scratched. She's weaker than her brother and she cannot tolerate such conditions. She could learn to take care of her skin. She always gifted Ethan with basketballs, soccers, bicycles, skateboards, you name it, while providing Lily with crayons, dolls, and kitchen sets to play with. Ever since Karen moved in, Lily's life has been a little difficult, and being her mother, all I could do was let her do what she wanted behind Karen's back. Since Karen has been in ill health and Mark has requested that I take care of her conditions, she could not be left alone, and I have to accept that we cannot leave our elderly parents alone at this difficult time, so I was ready to compromise with myself and a little bit with Lily. After a few weeks, Lily is now admitted to play school, and Ethan has topped his class and has been promoted to the next. Ever since Karen moved in, Lily has changed a lot. She's been a good girl these days, become less clumsy, created no mess, and learned not to spill things and learned to speak properly. But every time she gets scolded by Karen, she comes running to me crying, asking me why is it happening to her and how could I explain that it's her fault that she was born a girl. I was a little worried for Lily, though she behaved like an ideal daughter. But this is not a good sign. She's almost always cautious of herself, especially when Karen is around her, and it's also affecting her self-esteem. Not only because her perfection in everything would ruin her childness and her carefree nature, she's just a kid and is supposed to act like one, not impress the other people around her. And speaking of Ethan, it's become worse. He has simply reversed his previous behavior, and he was so careful, well-kept, and obedient, suddenly losing his basic manners, and Karen always sides with him and his misbehavior. And Karen always sided with him every time. Even scarier is what's whenever I give him grounding punishment, he acts like a spoiled brat, and does not come down for a second, and confides in Karen. Update number 2. One day, as usual, when I was overworked, Lily helped with whatever she could and to do her best at the ability at her age. And then I sent her off to do her homework, and she sat where Ethan was playing on his iPad, and all of a sudden I listened to Ethan yelling at Lily over the crayons she's been using without Ethan even asking, because they belonged to him. I asked him what is the problem, and, well, it's because crayons also belong to Lily, you know. But he said that they were gifted to him by Karen and he had kept them in his hidden cupboard. In her defense, Lily said that she found them on the table and Ethan accused her of lying. Lily starts crying and keeps repeating that she's telling the truth, and I just try to convince Ethan that I will buy him a new set of crayons exactly like this if he'll apologize to Lily and help me with the laundry, but He denied saying Lily is lying, and boys don't do housework and laundry. Shocked by those words, which were often said by Karen and today uttered by Ethan, listening to them, I saw Mark came rushing, and he hit the gas stove where I left the stew boiling. It was set on full flame, covered with a lid, and it half spilled, and the remaining was burned. Mark, instead of supporting me, started listening to Karen, who's adding fuel to the fire, and started blaming me for everything. I knew I would never make such mistakes because I remember adjusting the flame to the minimum and keeping the lid open. Then, how come the flame turned on to full and then the lid closed itself? And then it dawned on me that what Lily is saying is also the truth. I knew she would not take anything from Ethan's cupboard. Till then, I used to believe that I was careless of something had gone wrong with me. Both Mark and Karen say I'm forgetting things and questioning my memory, but I remember everything, you know. But she was trying to gaslight Lily by siding with Ethan and me by siding with Mark. Well, infuriated at Mark, Karen, and Ethan, I realized that she wanted to provoke me to get aggressive, but instead of reacting to Karen's harsh words, I did not argue with her. Instead, I apologized and promised to take better care of her. Karen was taken aback by such a reaction and did not disagree with me and left. Satisfied, Mark left for his office, and thinking of Ethan, I decided it was high time he separated from Karen. Before it gets any worse under her ill influence, I instructed him to help Lily lift her stuff and move it to my room, and told Karen that she no longer needs to share a room with Ethan since I'm giving her a separate room that belonged to Lily, and she will move in with me and Mark in the bedroom. When Ethan was done with shifting, I cleaned the empty room and shifted Karen's luggage from Ethan's place into Lily's. Karen left with Mark for her appointment with the doctor, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm supposed to deal with her when she's trying her best to take advantage of the chaos in my life. But thinking it through, I realized that the chaos in my life is not typical of my routine. There's something fishy. Then, while arranging her luggage, I found a diary. I thought of changing its place to keep it safer, but I tripped on Ethan's toy car and the diary fell on the floor as I picked it up. I casually glanced at it and found my name written within a huge paragraph. I thought of reading it, but then I don't have enough time since Karen will be back anytime soon. So I hid it safely in my room and arranged all her stuff in Lily's room. As usual, when the day was over, everyone went to their respective bedrooms, and I was furious with Mark for how he acted with me in the morning and did not even have regrets. So I made no effort to hide my anger from him, which left me a bit confused. So when Mark came to the room, I did not let him lie in the bed. Instead, I made Lily sleep at his side of the bed, and I told him that, as an ideal granddaughter, Lily has given her room to her grandma, aka your mother, so I let her share my room. Now that it's his turn to act like an ideal son and father. He should also adjust for Karen and Lily and sleep somewhere else. Annoyed, he said that I have turned into an overly possessive mother towards Lily and that nothing's wrong with anyone except for me. And with that, I handed him over his pillow and blanket and shut the door. Then I picked up Karen's diary and started reading. Reading through it gave me a sneak peek into her thought process, and I was just shattered and heartbroken to discover that she hates me and has never accepted me as part of her family. She's written about my relationship with Mark, and she understood Mark as a passive husband and father to me and Lily, and he could be easily swayed by her. All she needs to do is play the damsel in distress because of her sickness. She wants me to be excluded from her family, so she thought of targeting me and Lily together. As long as Lily and I are obstacles, all she wants is a bright future for Ethan. She even designed an intricate plan with everything well calculated. How to frame Jane by showing her an irresponsible as ruining her work from behind the ideas were also mentioned as how to execute them. Mixing excess salt or chilies in the food while I'm cooking, adding ingredients to which she's allergic, and changing the medications deliberately to take them at the wrong time. Mark will be worried about her ill health and will take no chance that it could cause her inconvenience. Methods of framing Lily were also present, and how will she keep Ethan's favorite things out of her possession of Lily? How will she eat Ethan's portion of leftover ice cream? When Lily eats her portion, she'll be blamed for stealing, and then Karen will buy him an entire tub of cookie jar. She'll portray me as a mother who is partial towards Lily so that Ethan will feel left out and come closer to Karen. I was so hurt when I got to know that she resents me. I mean, what did I do to her? I always took care of her, as my mother always respected her, so why does she hate me? I could not believe my eyes. I could not figure out the reason behind her hatred for me and Lily. Also confused, how am I supposed to deal with her now after discovering her true feelings? Should I ask her? Also, she's on medication and she's sick already. How can I stress her out by putting her in such a situation? What if she would play the damsel in distress, saying that I'm framing her in an accusation to get rid of her? I can't risk it. She's already sticking to her plan because she's been successful thus far, and Ethan has begun to blame me and Lily. Karen has won over his confidence, which is why he chose to confide in her. Mark has already thought of me as a manic woman who's going crazy over her kids, especially Lily, and pays more attention to Karen, and he had already been separated from me long ago before Karen moved in with us. Now, I have to be aware of her, and the best way to do it is to keep an eye on her to stay ahead. I have to play along with her, as long as I don't get to know what she exactly wants by excluding me and Lily. Although she hates us, what could be the reason behind her intricate planning of what she's doing and why? She has to have a certain purpose, and I have to uncover it. Well, I started to spy on her, sneaking in her contacts, her conversations, and her chat history, and I also went through her diary just to get access to all her contacts and checked her Google search history. Note all the necessary details above so far. I saw her regularly after her doctor appointments, and you see, she has regular meeting schedules with some attorneys and obviously cannot further spy on their conversation, so I dialed the most useful person, in this case my friend who owns a law firm, and told her everything in detail along with the contact information and name of Karen's attorney. She promised that she would investigate it and update me soon, and she also advised me to get to the root of the investigation and find a reliable source of information. Update number 3. I understood where she was hinting with that in my last update, so one day, when Ethan was out at his camping trip with his friends, Lily was at her friend's birthday party and had a night stay over there. Mark was out for a business trip, and Karen had taken her dosage and was a heavy sleeper since her medications caused her excessive sleep. I went to Karen's apartment. I stepped into an empty room, searched and ruffled through her documents and other belongings, and her clothes, her photographs, family albums where I saw her son's photograph framed with Karen, carrying him over on her lap like a trophy. And besides that, our father-in-law in a family photo who was such a gentleman, a kind-hearted soul, and exactly opposite of Karen, a calm, collected, generous person. I still wonder how in the world somebody could be so unfortunate to end up with a person like Karen. I felt lucky that at least Mark is not like Karen. He both loves Lily and Ethan equally, then all of a sudden the phone rings. I picked up a friend who told me that the attorney Karen was seeing was her ex and she broke up with him due to his illegal misdeeds. She further added that she has found the contract that Karen has signed with him, promising a huge amount in return if she embezzles the funds. She asked me to get the original copy of these documents where this will is mentioned explicitly. I searched through it and guys, I found it. It mentioned that the money of my late father-in-law belonged to both Lily and Ethan, and I got a hold of it, tucked it safely in my bag, and zipped it up. Before leaving, I put everything in its place and reached home. Also, I clicked on the picture of Karen's diary of her plans and kept them in their place with Karen's stuff. The next morning, I mentally prepared myself for whatever might happen. I had to confront it face on. Lily is already home. She was dropped off by her friend's dad, and Ethan returned an hour ago. Mark will be back by the afternoon, and Karen came down for her morning coffee. I greeted her in the morning and asked her how she was. She did not answer and just continued staring at her mobile screen. Keeping things simple and direct, I told her that I checked her reports and stated that her condition seemed better now. More than half of her medications course is already completed, so what are her plans? She was baffled, as she could not process it because it was a little abrupt for her, as she did not see that coming. Well, I did not let her see that. She said she has not thought it over yet. And then I advised her, more like a last warning, that she needs to think it over because she has to move back to her house soon. I told her that I don't want her to be around anymore because she is an ill influence on my kids. I was already distressed regarding Lily's mental condition, and now Ethan's degrading academic performance and his bratty behavior are all thanks to her. She retorted, saying that she can take care of Ethan better than anyone in this house, especially me. Infuriated at her, I said, just like she had mentioned in her diary, and part of that is how she has come up with her proper blueprint of when and where and how everything's supposed to take place. How she has planned to frame me and Lily to control everyone's lives. All she could say was that I am not a good mother, a good daughter-in-law, or even a good wife. I should instead be thankful for her because she took control of everything, and now everyone knows how incapable I am of keeping my family together. Wasting my time and money over Lily that should be paid to Ethan instead of Lily is simply not worth it. She has already tested my patience. So I warned her not to say anything bad to Lily and told her to move out at this instant. If she is so ungrateful and disrespectful towards me and Lily, finally, I pulled the last weapon of declaring all her past misdeeds with my late father-in-law's funds and jeopardizing Lily's future by embezzling documents and diverting Lily's funds into Ethan's, sabotaging her future and making Ethan's brighter. I asked, who gave her the right to interfere, manipulate with somebody's future, and embezzle, the late father-in-law's finances? She also disrespected the last wishes of her husband and could not look beyond her selfish motives. I was questioning and yelling at Karen, but Karen, with her distorted beliefs, was trying unsuccessfully to defend herself. Her jaw dropped to the floor and she did not realize Ethan was standing on the stairs. He came a long time and listened to pretty much our entire conversation, though he was just a kid. Already approaching his teenage years, he could understand things. Too stunned to speak, he stood there quietly, and I could see the little hint of disappointment in his eyes. Karen tried to hide her nervousness and greeted him, but he did not reply except to go inside his room and shut the door. Meanwhile, Mark came up from his business trip all exhausted and relieved to be home. He smiled and greeted us both, and Mark was a bit confused, staring at both of our faces back and forth, asking what was wrong with us, as we both had this intense argument going on. The atmosphere was very tense, as if it had entered a war zone, and our faces looked flushed and grim with adrenaline rushing. He went to Karen, and Karen, not leaving a chance, once again pulled over for her victim act. He made her sit, offered her a glass of water, comforting her, and flashed an angry look at me, asking what did I do with his mother. I wanted to tell him everything, but looking at his expression, I knew he would not believe me, and Karen would take advantage of his current mental state, so I said nothing and took Karen's hand to escort her to the bedroom, because if I let Karen alone with anyone, she would leave no stone unturned to manipulate them against me. So I took her away from Mark. I told Mark, don't you worry, I'll take care of her as I did before. Till then, he can freshen up and I'll tuck her into bed and make his meal, and he agreed and went to take a shower. Karen was quiet, and I don't know what she might be thinking, but at least I tried my best to not let her ruin things for me, you know. I wanted to talk to Mark, but before that, I thought of checking on Ethan, just to see how he was, so I softly knocked on his door and called his name, and I waited, but no answer, so I almost gave up and turned around to the kitchen, but then I heard a soft click sound. The door opened slowly, and I sneaked inside the room where I saw Ethan sitting quietly. I wanted to comfort him, telling him it was okay and promise him to make everything better, but then he asked me why Grandma doesn't love Lily just like she loves me. She is an ideal daughter and an ideal sister, so much so that he felt guilty sometimes about how terrible of a son and a brother he had been by being bratty to everyone. He apologized for such behavior and confessed that he was not thinking straight. His ideas about right and wrong mess up whenever he talks to Grandma. He was sorry for whatever Lily had to go through, and he wants to talk to Grandma to convince her to love Lily as much as she does me. Poor Ethan still believes in the goodness in everyone and thinks his grandma will never change. I could tell him that real life doesn't work like that. People cheat, deceive, and leave without guilt. Some things are just like this, and we have to make peace with them. I told him he doesn't need to talk to anyone. All he needs to do is take care of his sister Lily and leave the rest to Mama. I'll handle it. Mark's angry, losing his cool and demanding his answer from me. What am I handling? I told Mark everything about how his mom went too far, hating me and Lily, and his usual response was that I was being overly possessive, but then I was ready with the proof and showed him the pictures of the contract for embezzlement of funds and her diary handwritings where she has planned to expel me from her family. He was shocked, but just then Karen stepped into the room saying that I was accusing her, but whatever she did was for the good of everyone. She did it for Ethan and his future, and Lily won't do any good to the family, she said. She's just a girl who's meant to carry the lineage of another family and not ours. Which Ethan would do. She went over to embrace him, but he stepped back and said that he loved Grandma, but he loved his sister as well. And she did not deserve to be treated like this, and he hid behind me, burying his face in his palms. Karen was so disappointed and heartbroken to hear such words from her beloved grandson. It traumatized her and took a toll on her health. She lost her balance, getting unconscious, and Mark had to dial emergency services. I instructed Ethan to take care of Lily and lock the door from the inside. After reaching the hospital, the doctor told us that they had controlled the situation and soon she would be discharged. But since she's not completely well, almost half of her medication course is still left, so we have to take care of her. Staying late at night at the hospital, we did not get a chance to finish our conversation, and after a few minutes of silence, everything was calm. We had time to talk, and Mark requested that I give Karen one more chance. She won't do anything. He said his only priority was to save his mother's life. I tried to remind him of her gender bias and ill treatment of our daughter, but he paid no heed. He simply said that we would deal with that later. She needed treatment and started pleading because her relocation might take over her health, and he knows I am a kind-hearted person who would feel guilty about my decision later. But, guys, I was adamant this time. Not because I was insensitive towards her failing health, but I was scared that if she was given another chance to stay with us, she would leave no stone unturned to make my life a living hell. And I could not risk that upon my children. I tried to explain to him that Karen won't change. He's just blinded by his mother's love, and she never cares for anybody, not even her husband's last wish, except for her own distorted beliefs. He simply said, all he cares about is his mother's rights now and Ethan. In those words, I found my answer. I wasn't being harsh on him by saying he doesn't care about me or Lily, but I won't make things easy for him either, and the next morning, I visit my friend, gave her updates and provided her with all the original documents of my late father's will, and she made my divorce papers, where I claimed custody over both children, along with 70% of Mark's alimony. I went back home, packed Mark and Karen's luggage, and cleaned their rooms. When Mark came home with Karen, I served him his morning coffee with a slice of divorce papers. Karen questioned me about them, and my justification, I just said that I want to make things easy for Mark. And citing Karen's health conditions, I would trade my husband for her son. And I would let Mark ease his burden and relieve him of his responsibilities as a husband and a father towards me and the children. And I would let him take care of Karen as a full-time son. While having this conversation, I noticed Ethan standing behind me, and I asked him how Lily was doing. Well, he said she was asking about me and Mark, and this time she is asleep. Then he turned towards Karen and asked how she was, and she smiled and said she was good after all. She had him. But I interrupted in between and told her not to continue. Surprised, she looked at me and I clarified once again that Ethan is not going with her. He will stay with me.
Karen was furious and swore to ruin my life by taking over her beloved grandson, Ethan.
I made it clear that unlike her, who decides on others' behalf what they want to do, even the court recognizes the consent of the children, and it'll help me claim his custody.
Alright, so the comment section was a little out there on this one. Why do I say that? The biggest comment that had a lot of likes and replies to it was the fact that they're mad. OP's divorcing her husband. They're basically saying, hey, your husband didn't really have much to do with this. He was just looking after his mother. But there was other people that were saying, are you joking? He's always taking his mother's side instead of his wife's, and he doesn't seem to care about her feelings, her emotions, what she's actually thinking, nothing. All he cares about is his mother, and even when he learned about her plan to take all the money away from OP's daughter, it wasn't even enough. So she served him with some divorce papers and breakfast all in the same day. Drop your comments down below. I would like to hear which side you guys are on. Are you on OP's side or the husband's side, or do you think they're both the a-hole? I just want to hear your opinion on this one, because usually with these stories, it's very obvious people's opinions based on the comment section. Usually people are like 90% one way or 90% the other. This one was different. It was mixed up left and right, people arguing all over the place. Let me know. Drop it in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. So stop on by tomorrow, see what we're up to. I'll catch you then, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.